The last embers of the battle still crackled in the scorched air when Sergeant Michael Mike Reynolds stepped off the shuttle. The red sky of Solaris 7 glowed with the stubborn fires of defeated war machines, their metal husks twisted and smoking. The black banners of the United Terran Coalition hung from crashed cruisers, fluttering in the breeze like victorious ghosts. Mike could still hear the screech of alien artillery ringing in his ears, mixed with the cries of the men they'd lost. The war had been swift, brutal, and merciless. Humanity had prevailed, but at a cost. He and his squad had marched across the bloodied plains, reclaiming land one crater at a time. Now, as the command center's metallic structure hummed around him, he wasn't prepared for what would await inside. "Heard you did good work in the siege of Krylosis Ridge," a voice called as Mike entered. General Nathaniel Hawkins, a tall figure with cold steel eyes, stood with hands clasped behind his back, his uniform immaculate despite the chaos around them. "Just did what I had to, sir," Mike replied, still tasting the metallic tang of combat in his mouth. "That's exactly why I called you here," Hawkins said, motioning to a private room. "The Coalition owes you recognition. A reward." Mike paused. "Sir?" The door slid open, and Mike stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, the air tinged with sweet, unfamiliar fragrance. A soft glow emanated from a corner. There, in the shadows, stood a woman. Or something like a woman. She was tall, slender, and inhumanly graceful. Her skin shimmered with faint turquoise undertones. Long, silver hair cascaded down her back like a river of moonlight, and her eyes, large, amber, luminous, regarded him with a mix of fear and curiosity. Metallic cuffs shimmered on her wrists and ankles. "This," Hawkins said, stepping in behind him, "is Elila. An Arkari. One of the last of her kind in this quadrant. Captured during the siege. Consider her a prize. A token of your service." Mike's jaw tightened. "A slave?" "Yes." "You can do with her as you please," Hawkins said with a dismissive wave. "They're genetically engineered for obedience. She'll be loyal. Useful. And if you ever get sick of her, well, no one will ask questions." Elila didn't react. Didn't even flinch. Her breathing was slow, controlled. Her eyes didn't leave Mike's face. "I'm not sure It's a war. You think the ZSYTH clans offered mercy? Take this as survival repaid in kind." "Dismissed, Sergeant." Hawkins left, and the room fell silent. Mike stared at the alien woman, his stomach twisting. The chains, the cold aura of captivity, it reminded him of something ancient and monstrous. He took a step closer, and she lowered her gaze, as if expecting a blow. Instead, he knelt down. "What's your name?" he whispered. She hesitated. Then, barely audible, "Elila. You understand me?" "Yes," she said, voice smooth but strangled. "Your language was infused during capture. And I've lived long enough to learn." Mike rubbed the back of his neck. He expected fury, fear, anything. But what he saw in her eyes was deeper, a quiet, exhausted resignation. "We're leaving," he said. She blinked, confused. Mike stood and walked to the control panel. He disengaged the energy restraints. The cuffs fell. Elila stared at her freed wrists as if they were foreign objects. "Do you trust me?" Mike asked. "I do not know you." "That's fair. But I'm not keeping a slave." She studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, "I will follow." The shuttle ride back to the outpost was quiet. Elila gazed through the window, watching Solaris 7 rotate beneath them like a dying ember. Mike struggled to make sense of it all. He was a soldier, a good one. He fought for humanity, for survival. But now he saw the cracks. The lines they crossed. The monsters they were becoming in victory. "Elila," he said softly. "What did they do to your people?" She closed her eyes. "My kind are not fighters. We are healers. Scholars. Traversers of the mind and spirit. The coalition that took us, They wanted our abilities. What abilities? She hesitated. We can sense truth. Emotions. The patterns of life. Some among us could bend living matter, calm illness, stop death for a moment. We did not know violence. We were not built for it. And now we are extinct. Mike's breath stilled. He felt something break inside him. I'm sorry. You had no hand in it, Elila said. But you will. If you continue as they mean you to. The shuttle landed. The night air was cool, and the stars stretched in endless silence overhead. Elila's eyes flicked to the sky, as if searching for something that could no longer be found. Stay with me, Mike said. But not as a slave. As a guest. At least until we figure something out. Elila studied him. And for the first time since he'd met her, she nodded. In the silence between them, a pact was sealed, fragile, uncertain, but real. The soldier and the last light of a dying race walked, side by side, into the dark. Mike's quarters were modest: a cot, a collapsible table, and a few personal items. Elila sat barefoot on the floor, knees drawn, her silver hair spilling across her shoulders like silk. Mike set down 2 metal cups, filling one with filtered water and offering it to her. You've been kind, she said, voice softer than before. I'm not doing enough, he replied. But I'll try. She cupped her hands around the cup and sipped. Mike noticed how she flinched at the hum of the base's generators outside, sounds so normal to him but foreign, intrusive to her. He sat across from her. I want to get you out, he said. Back to whatever is left of your people or wherever you want to go. She looked up, amber eyes glowing. There is no one left. Mike looked away. Then you'll choose. When we get off this rock. He knew what Hawkins would do if he found out. Court-martial. Worse. But Mike had seen enough horrors. He wasn't going to add to them. He was done playing the hero for the wrong team. A knock sounded. Mike stood abruptly and moved to the door. Corporal Cindy Weaver stood outside, chewing her gum like she owned the place. Heard you got a present, Weaver smirked. Care to share? Mike didn't respond. Weaver tilted her head. Relax, Reynolds. Just giving you heads up, word is the general's planning a briefing. Something about relocation of assets. I'd get your assets someplace quiet. Thanks, Mike said curtly. Weaver left. Mike shut the door and turned to Elila. She was already standing, posture alert. You heard. I did. We leave tonight. And where will you take me? Anywhere but here. Hours passed. Darkness swelled across the horizon. The base's alarms were silent, patrols thin after the day's victory. Most soldiers were drunk on celebration or too exhausted to care. Mike retrieved a survival pack and a stolen clearance badge. Elila walked beside him without making a sound. They moved quickly, using shadows like armor. The sound of their hearts echoed louder than their footsteps. Reynolds, a voice called. They froze. Mike turned slowly. General Hawkins stood at the end of the corridor, arms crossed. You thought we wouldn't notice? Hawkins said. You really think you can walk out with classified biological property? She's not property. No? The general laughed. She's a tool. An advantage. And now you're throwing career, freedom, hell, your life away for a pet project? Idiot. Mike didn't speak. He didn't explain. He simply pulled his weapon and held it at his side. Elila stepped back, eyes wide, but not in fear. She watched. Waiting. Hawkins sighed. A shame. You had potential. Mike moved first. The shot cracked, echoing through the corridors. Not from his gun. Elila stood behind Hawkins, her hands still raised. His eyes were wide, staring. Elila's touch had silenced his mind. The general collapsed without a sound, As if the universe had gently taken him away. You killed him. No, she whispered. I stopped him. He sleeps. He will not wake until we are beyond reach. How? I told you. We were not built for war. But for peace. Mike exhaled, adrenaline fading. He nodded. We go. The base's perimeter sensors were down. The shuttle was fueled, disguised among dozens. They boarded and sealed the hatch. Mike took the pilot's seat, Elila sat behind him, watching him work with the same intensity she'd had since they met. You don't have to follow me, Mike said. When we get somewhere safe. I will decide then, she said quietly. You have given me something I have not had in years. What's that? Choice. Mike stared ahead as he launched the shuttle. The stars opened like a canvas. Solaris 7 shrank below them. Where do you want to go? He asked. Elila didn't speak for a moment. Then, somewhere empty. Somewhere, untouched. Mike nodded. I think I know a place. They flew for hours. The moment they broke atmosphere, Mike felt the weight lift. The stars were quiet. Indifferent and eternal. Elila stood behind him, watching the void. You could have stayed, Mike said softly. I could have, she replied. But I would have lived in chains. I would rather wander the emptiness as myself. Mike turned to her. What about me? You are not unlike me, she said, her voice nearly warm. You too are alone. You too carry fire and regret. He smiled faintly. Maybe that's what brought us here. They didn't speak again. They didn't need to. The shuttle drifted into the unknown. Ahead, an uncharted system glittered, green and untouched. A new world. A new start. They landed under a quiet dawn, the sky blooming in unfamiliar colors. Mike stepped onto soft ground. Elila followed, closing her eyes and breathing deeply, as if taking root in the moment. What now? He asked. She opened her eyes. Now, we live. No more warriors. No more slaves. Mike nodded. Together? Elila gently touched his arm, her expression unreadable but not unkind. Yes. The abandoned soldier and the freed alien woman stood at the beginning of something unknown. Not victory. Not conquest. Just life. And in that moment, under strange stars and new skies, it was enough.